we're finally here, people. Joker is finally out. Am I the only one who feels like we waited a decade for this movie? Um, yeah, it's been kind of a long time coming, and I personally, from the beginning, well, when this movie was first announced, I thought it was a bad idea. But as the trailers came out and Joaquin Phoenix came on and all this good stuff, I kind of got really interested into it, and seeing the positive reaction from like the Venice Film Festival and all that, that only made me more interested. So when I went to see the movie, I was pretty interested in what was going to happen, and when I walked out of the movie, I really liked the movie. But in the 24 hours that have gone by, I've thought about this movie way too much. I almost feel like it was probably a good thing that I had to do another video and some other life stuff got in the way, because it's really allowed me to really process this movie. And the thing is, and I want to make this clear before we get into the film, I don't know how I'll feel about this movie in a month's time or a year time. I might come around and think it's the greatest film ever. I feel like there's a real possibility of that. But I just want to talk about how I feel about the movie at this moment on Thursday at 8:10 at night. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. We'll start off, the premise is pretty simple. Arthur Fleck is a mentally ill man living in a shithole version of Gotham City. He takes care of his mentally ill mother, has a crappy job as a clown, and life is just always against him and getting him down. And that's about all you really need to know. But as far as the positives of this movie goes, because it does a lot right. There's a lot to love here, and I want to love this movie, and I do respect the fuck out of this movie. First and foremost, as far as the positives go, performances. Everyone's talking about Joaquin Phoenix, and he's genuinely fantastic in the film. He's really great. He makes the character relatable, interesting, but does make you fear him, and just is, I think it's a good performance all around. But I don't want it to overshadow the other performances, which are all fantastic in this. De Niro gives his best performance since Silver Linings Playbook, despite only being in the movie at most maybe 20 minutes. Zazie Beetz is good for the very few minutes of the movie she's in. The lady playing Arthur Fleck's mother is fantastic and makes what could have been a really easy character to screw up really compelling. His shrink, who's only in the movie for 5 minutes, ends up being really interesting. The people at his office are really interesting. Hell, there's a clerk, a file room clerk who's in the movie for 5 minutes who gives an Oscar-worthy performance. I never thought I'd say that in my life. It's a well-acted film, like just across the board. And it's not just the acting, too. The look of this movie is perfect. Like, one of the backdrop things of this movie is a garbage strike, and they use it fully to their advantage. There's just piles of garbage everywhere, and the streets are disgusting, the buildings are disgusting, the cars are disgusting. This feels like the hopeless, miserable world that would breed someone like the Joker. That is truly fantastic. And what good is a good set if you don't have a good camera to shoot it with? Oh my god, the cinematography is amazing. Like, the way the movie is shot, the way the film zooms in on Arthur, the way it follows him, the way it presents everything around us, the way it's lit, every aspect of the cinematography is pitch perfect. Give the person who shot this movie an Oscar. I don't care about any other movie this year. Give that person an Oscar. And the score, oh god, I love the music. Longtime followers of this channel will know how much I love a good score, and it's a beautiful score. It's got that perfect combination of like 80s music mixed in with this bone-chilling fear and horror as it builds and builds to what Arthur Fleck ultimately becomes. I loved listening to the soundtrack of this movie. So yeah, with all those amazing positives, why did I not really like this? Well, the big thing is that the problems with this movie are present from scene one, and as are the positives. And I feel like your ability to enjoy this movie will be based on how you personally, like, how much do the positives outweigh the negatives? And for me, it's just as time has gone by, the negatives have really outweighed the positives. The first negative with this movie is the dialogue. Remember the line in the trailer, the most recent one that really stuck with people, where he goes, "All my thoughts are bad thoughts"? That line is poignant because the trailer builds up to it, and so when he says it, it has a lot of weight to it. Unfortunately, a big problem in this movie is whenever everyone talks, they all just talk like that one line. Everything out of everybody is just designed to do world setup. It is just designed to explain shit to you. It is specifically designed to just retail whatever inspired the scene. Like, Thomas Wayne is a big element to it. Arthur Fleck's mother is obsessed with Thomas Wayne. He's just Trump, and the mother is just a Trump supporter, and that's all I ever get from it. The dialogue is so on the nose that all I ever really think about is there's just a bunch of screenwriters who thought they were writing the smartest movie that have ever been created, and it really does get in the way of enjoying these fantastic performances. These actors are doing great despite the lines they're given, and it sucks. And unfortunately, the rest of the script is just as bad. Like, this movie, a lot of people are, from the beginning, people have said that this feels like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, the two Scorsese movies that clearly inspired it. It goes further. It really does. The two most recent influences I can think of are Falling Down, the Michael Douglas, Joel Schumacher directed film, and Fight Club. These are now 4 films that all deal with a mentally ill protagonist in a society that has failed him and is getting worse, and how they sort of try to take hold and take charge of that. All 5 of these movies are set up the same way. They feature the same kind of protagonist, just with the differences being whatever mental hang-up they have, and it is executed the same way every time. You can literally sit there and just figure everything out as it happens. And I know this because I unfortunately did. As each scene progressed, I was like, oh, this is going to lead to this, because this is the moment in the movie where something really bad is going to happen, and this is the moment where he gets that moment of triumph, and when he first feels like, fuck yeah, I can do something, and this is when he gets crazier, this is when he gets saner, this is when he makes the point of no return. The film is very paint by numbers for this sort of story. And though, yes, we don't get these stories very often, it doesn't change the fact that this movie didn't do anything different from the other 4 times. Like, that's sort of my big problem with it, is that for all its talk about being this subversive comic book film that changes the game, it really doesn't. It's just another movie about a crazy person who starts doing bad shit. And finally, that brings us to the last negative, the big negative, and the thing that, for me, really hurts this film above all else, is that it's not a comic book movie. It's really not. Like, this is a movie about a guy who is miserable and has a mental problem and goes crazy. It just so happens he calls himself Joker once and wears clown makeup. That's it. That's really all there is to this being a comic book movie. Like, to me, what makes good comic book movies is not that they throw away the stuff from the comics and make it feel more adult and serious. It's how they take those elements of the comics and turn them into a movie for adults or for a larger audience, or all these things. And a lot of people, I keep seeing these stupid YouTube videos about how, oh, this is the most accurate version of the Joker ever. Shut up. It's not. It's not. It's like, if we're going to get a Joker movie, I want to feel like it makes sense that this guy is putting on makeup and doing Joker stuff, but I never believe it. I never really believe it when Arthur Fleck goes full on the Joker, like, because he doesn't. He's just a crazy person. Like, that's it. And it's really bad because, like, there's no other comic book elements. Like, yeah, Thomas Wayne is in this. He's the worst thing in the movie. like he's just Donald Trump, and like you could have just called him Donald Trump and it would have been no different. You could have made it that the Joker put on, I don't know, a Ronald McDonald costume and the movie would be no different. There's nothing fundamentally comic book about this. There's no aspect of the comic books or noir or anything Batman or Joker related that really influences this movie. It really is just a crazy person who gets violent. And when you say, and like as poignant as that is in today's world, when you factor in how Todd Phillips has basically said he only made it about the Joker so that way people would go see it, you factor in the Scorsese comments, you factor in Todd Phillips' just general attitude. He seems like a pretentious dick. He really does. He might be the nicest guy in the world, but that's how he's coming across. When you factor all that in, it made the film feel a little shallow to me. And yeah, that's kind of just what I'm feeling right now, is that the movie is very confused and doesn't really know what it wants to be. Which sucks, because I really do want more comic book movies to be interesting and to take on different genres and go out of left field and all that stuff, but I don't think this movie actually does any of that. And it sucks, because this is going to make a lot of money, and a lot of people are already jumping on the bandwagon that I want more DC movies like this, and fuck the Marvel movies, they're all going to be the same, and DC's putting all these interesting people in charge, and calm the fuck down, everybody. Yeah, I don't want it to be that people just start supporting DC movies because they're not Marvel movies. I don't think that's right, and I don't think that sends the right message. But what I do hope is DC does get the right message and continues to put interesting people into making their films, and that Marvel will follow suit. I hope everyone learns the right lesson. It's not like they learned the wrong lesson last time. But yeah, no, those are my thoughts on Joker. If you liked it, it's fine. If it got you talking about mental health, that's great. It's just that, for me, I just didn't really think it worked quite well. But tell me what you think about that below. I am genuinely curious to hear what people have to say about this movie. And so, yeah, that is the last, I'm pretty certain that's the last comic book movie of the year. So, pretty soon, it's going to be time to rank them all. That's going to be fun. So, click to like, click subscribe, and stay tuned for that.